All right, what we're going to talk about today is home inspections, who should do them, when should you do them, and kind of going outside the box a little bit with this one. I know some of you maybe have heard of a pre-listing inspection. It's something we advise our clients to do all the time. Historical norm is that a buyer would be the one that conducts a home inspection. The challenge is you then wait until typically the end of the due diligence period the buyer is doing to find out what could be an issue and ultimately whether they want to renegotiate and sometimes walk away from the deal, which happens way more often these days in a challenging market. So our belief is that if something's going to come up, the best time to figure that out is before you take it to market. So we ask our clients to invest in a home inspection to smoke those challenges out and give us an opportunity to get ahead of them. If you do it before you go live, it gives you time so that we get to shop for different trades quotes and you can take that off the table in the cheapest way possible. If it's going to come up anyways, you might as well deal with it in advance when you have time. And then it also makes sure that that buyer in the future doesn't have a reason to walk away. So saves you money, saves the risk of the deal falling apart. When you wait for a buyer to do a home inspection, you have a bunch of additional stress. You wonder, you hope that your property's okay, and you're ultimately this waiting game of figuring out what, if anything, is going to come up. And the reality is, I've done enough of these. There are going to be a bunch of things that come up. Your buyer is paying $500+ to have an inspector write an entire book of challenges with your home. So the goal is to shrink that book as best we can. So, obviously there's a lot of stress waiting and wondering what came up from the home inspection. And then when you find out, it's right at the finish line. A buyer often will strategically wait until they've got all their ducks in a row, so that way they can trade you their requests for a subject removal if they even are willing to move forward based on what they found. And you as a seller are far more susceptible to caving and taking their demand and giving that discount, and in the interest of not losing the deal and then having to go back to the drawing board, find another buyer and go through a whole due diligence period again. So that buyer usually has a ton more leverage. So our mission is, how do we get ahead of this stuff, do it as cheap as possible? The other knock-on benefit is it creates a lot of transparency and trust to a prospective buyer. We literally take that inspection you got before we went live and we have it on the table. You are literally an open book for the buyer. This creates a whole bunch of goodwill. So when a buyer is walking through the home, they see it on your kitchen counter that you've got an inspection that's recently been done. That shows that you're not hiding anything and that the home they're walking through is good to go. Otherwise, you would not be showing them that inspection. The other thing is anything that did come up in the inspection, you can proactively mark on it, dealt with XYZ, and you can strike them out as you get that stuff handled. And it makes that experience for a buyer much more positive, gives them a lot of confidence, and makes them more likely to engage in an offer, and then removes the risk for you of that deal collapsing or being renegotiated later. So I'm a huge proponent of pre-listing inspections. It's probably the best $500 or $600 you could spend as far as like an insurance policy goes. A ton of goodwill, and avoids all the hassles that come usually later at the finish line. So if you're going to list your home, part of the preparation process, of course, you want to make it look as pretty as you can, but you also want to make sure that you give that buyer, their inspector, a chance to give a glowing review. In a challenging market, buyers are really susceptible to getting cold feet. And if they get a home inspection at a time where it's very fickle, whether they move forward or not, you want that inspector to go, holy smokes, these guys maintain a wonderful home. Great inspection, you guys got a good one here. That brings that buyer closer and more likely to move forward, instead of at a time where if that inspection was pretty ugly, that makes it a much higher risk that that buyer may walk. So to avoid that, just get ahead of it. It's going to come up anyways, and tackle it head on. So I would suggest chatting with your agent about the idea of a pre-listing inspection and then having that present for all showings. So I hope that helps save you some money and some hassle. Any questions, or if you want to gamify anything with me, don't hesitate to reach out. As always, good luck. Bye for now.